After the news broke that Luke Lee was getting married, his childhood sweetheart kissed him in the dimly lit private room. She was smiling, yet her eyes were wet. "This year," she said, "I can finally stop liking you." Everyone was stunned, marveling at how well Linda Gray had hidden it. Luke flicked the cigarette between his fingers, a cigarette that was neither quite lit nor quite out, and asked, "Since when?" She answered, "When I was 15. The next day, word of Luke calling off the wedding spread through Shanghai. My adoptive parents scolded me, hating the iron for not becoming steel. It was just the last step. After 5 years of dating him, you still can't compare to one sentence from that little girl. Luke only told me to wait a little longer. But I had already waited 5 years. This time, I didn't want to wait anymore. When I came back from the restroom and was about to push open the door to the private room, I heard Linda singing. She had just finished a song, Lonely. Still smiling, still with tears in her eyes, she leaned over and kissed Luke beside her. This year I can finally stop liking you. Her best friend was crying like a mess. Linda, you've had a secret crush on Luke for so many years. You're finally free. Someone couldn't believe their ears. I didn't hear that wrong, did I? You mean our Linda, the girl who grew up with us, actually liked Luke? Linda, why didn't you say anything? With all of us backing you up, Luke wouldn't have dared bully you. What's the point of saying it now? Luke's already getting married. You mean that adopted daughter of the Wilson family? Linda's been strong and kind since she was little, how could that girl ever compare with her? Linda's bright, sparkling eyes fell on Luke. Luke, congratulations on your wedding. Luke flicked that half-burned cigarette again and pressed, "Since when?" "Since I was 15. 15 was the year she met Luke. It was also the year Luke lifted her up with everything he had. Any school abroad she wanted, Luke could make it happen with just one word. To meet someone like that when your heart is first waking up. Even saying you'd forgotten him would sound too deliberate." On the drive home, Luke didn't say a word. He lit one cigarette after another. His mind was already in chaos. When we pulled up at the gate of the Wilson family home, he looked at me and said, "Susan Wilson, the wedding is postponed." For a second, my heartbeat stopped. I asked, unwilling to accept it, because of Linda? It had been 5 years. I was the longest relationship Luke had ever had. There were always girls circling around him, but he never gave anyone his real heart. Everyone said there was a moon he loved but could never reach. No one but me knew who she was. Luke replied carelessly, "You've waited 5 years already. A little longer won't kill you." There was no emotion in his eyes. Calling off a wedding, to him, seemed no different from eating or sleeping, nothing worth making a fuss about. I laughed softly. This wait, I feared, would stretch into forever. When he was choosing someone for a marriage alliance, Luke chose me. The reason was simple. That day we met, you were wearing a blue dress. I really liked it. But he wasn't in a hurry to get married. He said, "This time I want to really try. Let's start from dating, okay?" From then on, Luke the playboy turned over a new leaf and cut ties with the glittering world. He knew his limits. He was impossibly gentle. The first time we kissed, he pinned me lightly against the car door and asked in a low voice, "It's been 3 months. When are you planning to kiss me?" None of Luke's relationships had ever lasted more than 3 months. When his friends teased him that he was becoming a monk, he only frowned and defended me, "Susan isn't like them. Let's not bring up the past." During a game of truth or dare, Linda lost. Everyone egged her on to say whether she liked someone. Blushing, half pushing, half giving in, she said, "Yes. He's right here." Luke's dark eyes narrowed a fraction. He tipped back a mouthful of strong liquor and said nothing. Linda's best friend, Maria, nudged Luke with her elbow. "Luke, what about you? Do you like someone?" They were all grinning wickedly. As if they had forgotten I was sitting right there. Luke lifted his arm and pulled me into him. "Isn't it obvious?" Maria wanted to say something more, but Linda quietly pulled her back. When the gathering ended, Maria stopped us. "Luke, why don't you take Linda home today? Like you always used to." Linda lowered her head. "Maria, Luke has a girlfriend now. Don't make things hard for him." Luke's hand, which had been playing with his lighter, paused. He smiled and said, "Linda probably doesn't want me to send her. After all, she likes someone." Everyone thought he was joking. Only I knew, he was sulking. Sitting in his passenger seat, I clenched my seat belt and asked him, "You like Linda, don't you?" He hit the brakes hard, my heart almost flew out. At the intersection, he had nearly run a red light. Luke was very frank. "I've liked her for 8 years. You're the first one to notice. But you heard her. There's someone in her heart. It's not me." I pretended to look at the scenery, but really I was wiping away tears in secret. Luke took my chin and turned my face toward him. "Don't cry, Susan. I haven't finished. Starting this year, my heart belongs to you and only you." That vow still rang in my ears as if it were yesterday. Maybe his heart had never fully belonged to me. But it had, unmistakably, belonged to Linda. In the second year of our relationship, on Linda's birthday, Luke didn't go. He only asked his assistant to deliver the gift. Linda posted the gift on social media. It was a ring made from a rib. I held my phone, not sure whether to be angry or disappointed. More than anything, I was afraid. Afraid I would never be able to squeeze into Luke's heart. Luke held me in his arms and coaxed me. I prepared that gift before I was with you. It's the last promise I ever made to her. From now on, I won't celebrate her birthday again. It sounded more like he was saying it to himself. That was the first time I brought up breaking up. I've been this way since I was young. Anything I'm destined not to have, I don't want. Better to cut my losses while I can still get out. Luke laid out 100% sincerity. It was a share transfer agreement. He gave me half of the Lee family shares under his name. Luke said, I know sweet words don't work on you. A ring made from a rib can't compare to sharing honor and disgrace with me. Susan, from now on, we're the ones who will be a family. My principles were broken. Love, after all. Who goes through it without eating bitterness? There's no such thing as a relationship without suspicion or arguments. What man doesn't have a past? So I naively talked myself around like that. The news of Luke breaking off the engagement spread all over Shanghai. John Wilson flung the newspaper in my face. How do you do things? The wedding was already a sure thing and you still managed to mess it up? We were just one step away. After 5 years of dating him, you still can't compare to one sentence from that little girl? Rachel soothed him while saying to me, Susan, it hasn't been easy for Mom and Dad to raise you. A good thing like marrying into the Lee family, we didn't give it to your sister, we gave it to you. I always felt your sister was still young, not as sensible as you, not as smart as you. But how could you fail to seize the chance and let us down? When the Wilson couple were young, they never had children. They adopted me from the orphanage. Partly to show charity to the media, partly because a childless home is inevitably lonely. But less than a year after adopting me, Rachel got pregnant. From then on, I became the only outsider in the family. For the sake of their reputation, they would never drive me out. All these years they'd been grooming me to be a rich man's wife, just hoping I could make the last bit of myself useful. Unfortunately, it all came to nothing. A gentleman judges by actions, not by intentions. I had repaid their kindness in raising me. Just not through a marriage alliance. I looked at them solemnly. Sir, ma'am, I'm willing to immigrate to Canada. Rachel was a little surprised. Back then we wanted to send you to Canada and you wouldn't go. How come now? Back then they made me choose, either marry into wealth or go to Canada. In short, they would not give me any chance to compete for the family assets. I wasn't interested in those things, but no one would believe that. If it hadn't been for Luke, I would have chosen to go abroad. After all, before I met him, I had never even thought about getting married. Rachel looked at John, waiting for the head of the family to decide. John nodded. In Canada you can just be a small employee and never worry about food and clothing. Once I've made arrangements over there, you go right away. As long as I went abroad, everyone could rest easy. I went to Luke's apartment to pack my things. I had spent more time there over the years than at the Wilson home. While I was clearing out the wardrobe, I found a hidden compartment. Inside was a crumpled photograph. There were 3 people in the photo. Maria, Linda, and Luke. Linda was looking at the camera, while Luke was looking at her. She was wearing a blue long dress, smiling bright and bold. I stared for a long time, then silently put the photo back where it was. Luke pushed the door open, his suit jacket casually slung over his shoulder. He smelled like her perfume. He asked offhandedly, going on a trip or on a business trip? When? I'll drive you to the airport. I wanted to say I was going home, but I realized, nowhere was my home. I'm not going anywhere. I just don't want to stay here. His hand, tugging at his tie, paused. He tilted his head to look at me. Throwing a tantrum? Whatever you say it is. Because of Linda? I put down the clothes in my hand and smiled a little. Not because of Linda, but because you can't forget Linda. He clenched his back teeth. Linda doesn't like me. You know that. He didn't even try to deny it. I let out a mocking laugh. That day I had heard every word outside the private room. And Luke still thought he could paper it over. Looking at his flawless expression, I suddenly felt he had never changed. Kissing me calmly, lying to me just as calmly. I said, very evenly, Luke, there's no need to postpone the wedding. Let's just cancel it. He clicked his tongue. Susan, how did I never realize before, you're unreasonable. Someone had called me unreasonable once before. It was John and Rachel. Back then Luke happened to walk in. Without a word he stood in front of me. Even someone as always polite to elders as he was, lost his temper that once. Teaching a lesson to my future wife. Does the Wilson family actually think they have that right? Truly, what goes around comes around. Luke pressed down on the suitcase I had already packed. I'll ask one last time, are you still going to make a scene? Whatever you say it is. He held back his anger. Fine. Leave then, but don't come back. There are plenty of people begging to be Mrs. Lee, don't fail to appreciate what you had. I imitated Linda and told him, then I wish young Master Lee a happy wedding. I booked a hotel, planning to make do for a while. My friend's birthday party, I turned down. Because I didn't want to run into Luke. She called me. Susan, it's your good sister's birthday and you're not coming, aren't you giving me no face? I chuckled. I've sent the gift to your house. I'm a bit busy lately, I might not make it. I get it. I didn't invite Luke. I really want you to come and cut the cake with me. Since she'd said that much, I couldn't refuse. I dressed casually and went out. Ellen really was waiting for me to cut the cake. Luke really didn't come. Because sitting in the middle of the private room was Linda. Ellen leaned to my ear to explain, Luke told me to take good care of her. I didn't dare disobey. Susan, you can understand, right? Everyone wanted me to understand them. If I were taking the college entrance exam this year, I'd do pretty well on the reading comprehension. Linda took a wine glass and walked toward me. I heard Miss Wilson and Luke broke off the engagement because of me. I'll punish myself with a drink. She downed the whole glass after saying that. Quite a few people spoke up for her. Linda, you've never wronged anyone. You don't need to apologize to anyone. If someone couldn't hold on to Luke's heart, that's not your fault. Somebody call Luke, Linda only listens to him. Linda poured herself another glass. But Susan, I really do like Luke. I have no parents. I worked part-time to put myself through school since I was little. Luke helped me so much. Forgive me, I can't hand him over. Tears slid down her cheeks. I snatched the glass from her hand and smashed it in the corner, shattering it to pieces. The show's over, Linda. I'm not Luke, I won't feel sorry for your tears. When I left, Ellen apologized to me. I said calmly, you have your difficulties, but you shouldn't have dragged me into it. In the middle of the night, my door was knocked on urgently. Through the peephole, I saw Luke. We hadn't spoken for over a week. He came with anger. You knew Linda is allergic to alcohol and still forced her to drink. In that instant I understood why Linda had put on that act. Childish and clumsy tactics. But what did it matter? Luke believed her completely. There was a chill on Luke's body, and I couldn't help putting some distance between us. I didn't force her to drink. She insisted on drinking. What are you backing away for, feeling guilty? Everyone there said you forced her to drink, then smashed the glass and made her cut her ankle. Susan, postponing the wedding was my decision, calling it off was your choice. From beginning to end, it had nothing to do with Linda. I thought you had more spine than that, but you turned around and made things hard for Linda. He said it so firmly, so angrily, as if I had really committed some unforgivable sin. Linda was the rose he had raised himself, he wouldn't let anyone lay a hand on her. Including me. I let out a quiet sigh and lowered my head. So that's what you think of me, huh? Luke irritably took out his lighter. After a second thought, he put it back. Susan, you waited for me for 5 years, what's the harm in waiting a little longer? Why be jealous of Linda? I told you, the position of Mrs. Lee would be yours sooner or later. You're too impatient. You've really disappointed me. Luke must have forgotten. When the Lee family hit a crisis, he'd suggested breaking up and said he didn't want to drag me down. I refused, and told him, if I don't become Mrs. Lee, I can give up everything. I just want to be your wife. When I was young, I was always firm that I would never step into the grave of marriage. Like a moth flying into the flame, that wasn't for me. That was back when I hadn't loved anyone yet, and didn't know how powerful love could be. Powerful enough that I was willing to give up everything just to marry him. Luke's phone rang. It was Linda. Luke, I'm scared when you're not here. Can you come and stay with me? Luke lifted his eyes and looked me over. Susan, say it, should I go or not? Do whatever you want. You're not welcome to stay here. He cut off the call and slammed the door on his way out. This time Luke was truly angry. He came down hard on the Wilson family. John, furious and anxious, called me home. Useless, always making things worse. Look at this mess and think how you're going to fix it. Rachel started playing the good cop again. Susan, Luke isn't asking for much. He just wants you to go to the Lee family in person and apologize to the future Mrs. Lee. I was stunned and asked, who is Mrs. Lee? A poor girl with no background, I think her name is Linda. Luke said it himself, the entertainment reporters just haven't reported it yet. She came forward and took my hand. Susan, your father and I promise you, as long as you go apologize and help the family get through this, we'll send you to Canada right away. The one who tied the bell must untie it. If I didn't go, Luke wouldn't let the matter drop. Just as I expected, when I arrived at the Lee residence, Luke was sitting on the sofa, and beside him sat timid little Linda. I got straight to the point. Young Master Lee, what will it take for you to let the Wilson family go? Luke said, an apology. He knew I would rather break than bend, that my pride was everything to me. All eyes fell on me. Linda tugged gently at Luke's sleeve. Forget it, Luke, don't force her. Luke fixed those deep eyes on me. Susan, I told you, if you don't want to be Mrs. Lee, plenty of others do. Now, apologize to my future wife. He had to break my backbone before he'd be satisfied. I poured myself a glass of liquor. I raised it toward Luke. I have no obligation to apologize to a mistress. Linda's face changed, she hurried to explain. I cut her off. And likewise, I have no obligation to listen to a mistress explain. I downed the drink in one go. The first glass is because I know my place. The Wilson family is nothing but an ant before the Lee family, so I'm asking young Master Lee to show mercy. The second glass is because I refuse to give young Master Lee face by apologizing to a mistress, so I beg young Master Lee to overlook the offense. The third glass is to hope that once I walk out that door, our feelings will be wiped clean, and from now on we will only deal with each other in business. 3 glasses of liquor burned all the way through me, hurting my heart, liver, spleen, and stomach. Luke's face was tight, his expression so severe it looked like he could eat someone alive. So strange. Wasn't this exactly what he wanted? His white moonlight was finally in his arms, the current girlfriend didn't make a scene and was willing to step down. What more could he be dissatisfied with? The whiskey was too strong. That night my stomach hurt and I was sent to the hospital for gastric lavage. Tossing and turning on the bed, I thought, if I'd known, I wouldn't have drunk that much. One relationship, and I was exhausted in body and soul. When I was discharged, I thought, just as I'd expected, no one would come to pick me up. Instead, Angela Wilson showed up in a brown coat, leaning lazily against the doorframe, mocking me. Haven't seen you for a few days, you look pretty miserable. The parents who raised me for more than 20 years didn't come. The boyfriend I'd loved for 5 years didn't come. But the sister who had no blood relation to me did. Angela plopped down on the bed and watched me pack. Susan, you know I've hated you since I was little. Mom and Dad spoiled you and indulged you. If you wanted to go out and play, they agreed without a word. But me? If I didn't get a perfect score, I got beaten half to death. You're getting married, and they put the best man in Shanghai in front of you to choose. I date someone and it's like I should be hacked to pieces. Why does everyone like you? I'm the biological daughter. When she finished, I just sighed. The fact that Angela could say something like that was enough to prove how much John and Rachel had loved her all these years. They spoiled her into being innocent, so innocent she was a little foolish. Angela, but in the end I was just a tool for a marriage alliance, or an abandoned child to be thrown abroad. Did it ever occur to you that it's not that they didn't love you, but that they were always carefully raising you, worrying about your future, worrying you might take one wrong step? Loving parents plan far ahead for their children. Angela's expression froze on her face. There was a knock on the door. Linda was standing at the entrance. She had become more and more elegant, wearing luxury brands from head to toe. Susan, I came to bring you something. She handed over a red invitation, her face lifted in triumph. Luke said you wouldn't believe we were getting married, so he told me to bring the invitation to you myself, to celebrate your discharge. Angela gave a cold laugh, lit a cigarette, and waved it in front of Linda. So you're the little mistress who stuck herself in someone else's relationship? Susan actually lost to something this low? Unbelievable. Linda's face went pale then green, and she glared hard at Angela. The one who isn't loved is the mistress, don't you know that? Let me ask you, Miss Mistress, today you managed to pry this man away, tomorrow another woman can pry him away from you. What will you do then, be the mistress's mistress? I heard Linda went back and cried hard to Luke. Said Angela and I ganged up on her, 2 against 1, bullying her for no reason. What revenge Luke would take on the Wilson family this time had nothing to do with me anymore. I booked a ticket for the day after tomorrow and left early in the morning. Angela made a big show of preparing a farewell meal. My leaving, to her, was something worth celebrating. I drank too much juice and went to the restroom. As I passed the bright corridor, I heard a familiar voice. Luke, you know we've all been hoping you and Linda would end up together, right? It was Maria. Looked like a group dinner. Linda was a bit shy. Maria, don't tease me. Only our friends know for now, it hasn't been made public yet. Maria smiled at Luke. Your wife is calling you out, aren't you going to say something? Luke seemed absent-minded and didn't answer. Someone cut in, Susan won't be reconciled, right? After dating someone like Luke, I doubt she can let go. No chance. I heard she's being sent abroad by the Wilson family. Luke lifted his head and asked, when? That person was caught off guard. Huh? I'm not sure. Maybe it's just a way to provoke you? You know women, they always want the man to coax them. But Luke, are you really over her? I don't mean to meddle, but Linda is the sister we all watched grow up. I don't want you to hurt her. Luke snorted. Why should I still have her in my heart? She was the one who insisted on canceling the wedding. Am I, Luke, supposed to go begging her? I looked quietly at his side profile. So cold, as if he had never loved me. Yet this was the man who had once said with such sincerity, Susan, from now on we're the ones who will be a family. Vows and oaths, better to listen to them lightly. After all, stories always start so tenderly, but the endings are rarely satisfying. Angela insisted on driving me to the airport. On the way, her fingertips tapped the steering wheel, over and over. She finally spoke. Susan, if you don't want to go to Canada, then don't go. If Mom and Dad won't give you the Wilson inheritance, I'll split mine with you. The shock in my heart was beyond words. Angela laughed. When Mom and Dad hit me when I was little, you were always the first one to rush out and protect me. Remember the year I started dating too early and accidentally got pregnant by that jerk? Mom and Dad were too embarrassed to make a scene, and you, how much did you pay the vocational school punk to beat him up? 50,000? He still thinks he offended some real gangster, ha ha ha. I couldn't help laughing. The car had just pulled into the parking lot. Angela said, if you want to stay, we can go home right now. I answered calmly, Angela, I'm leaving. She froze for a moment, then hugged me. Big sis, I don't hate you at all. You've been wronged in the Wilson family all these years. My eyes slowly grew wet. Before the tears could fall, I quickly got out of the car and walked into the airport. When the plane was in midair, I looked down. So Shanghai was actually this small. How could it hold so many earth-shaking loves and hatreds? I touched my cheek and found a trace of dampness. After more than 20 years, there was still reluctance. All the memories burst at once. The emotions came surging back like a tide. I lowered my head and couldn't stop the tears from streaming down. In the end, I curled up in my seat. John arranged a useless position for me in a subsidiary. The person who received me was a young CEO. He asked my hand politely. Miss Wilson, I've heard a lot about you. I glanced at the nameplate on the door. Mr. Jackson, where is my position? Alan Jackson made a few polite remarks and led me to the floor-to-ceiling window. A separate, luxurious workstation. The view outside was nice, the sun shone in just right, perfect for retirement. I said bluntly, I won't do this. Alan Jackson kept his face unchanged. Oh? Then what does Miss Wilson want to do? I know John told you to keep me here and treat me like a mascot. But President Jackson, I won't be a mascot. I want to be your assistant. You're the person with the most say in this company. Only by following you can I learn something. He kept smiling politely. Miss Wilson, being an assistant means being at my disposal 24 hours a day. Never mind the tea and errands, if I'm in a bad mood, I might vent on you. I smiled too. No need to scare me, President Jackson. I know you have your considerations. But frankly, if I quit, John will really take it out on you. Alan seemed to mull it over, then walked around me and picked up my badge from the retirement desk. He put it at the spot closest to the president's office. Assistant Wilson, welcome aboard. I slowly let out a breath. I had only been in Canada for a week when I got an overseas call. Ran all the way abroad, was that necessary? It was Luke. It's just swallowing your pride and apologizing. The wedding is still ours. No matter how much Linda makes a fuss, the Lee family won't let me marry her. You're smart, you should understand. Luke had always been surrounded by stars. No matter how I made a scene, as long as he bent a little, I was supposed to go back to him. Luke, I've swallowed my pride for 5 years. Not this time. He was silent for a moment, as if compromising. Fine. This time I'll swallow my pride. I'll come pick you up myself. Alan really did treat me like a general-purpose maid. Tea, errands, venting, he did everything he said he would. But when he met important clients, he would bring me along. He always gave me a way out. If you can't take it, just go back to the retirement desk. I asked my head. I can take it. I'm not going back. Late at night, the only people left in the company were me and Alan. The rule he gave me was that if the boss didn't get off work, I wasn't allowed to get off work. In Canada there isn't such a rule, but I could tell he was doing it on purpose to make things hard for me. I fell asleep on the desk without meaning to and was woken up by a wave of warmth. Alan's coat was draped over me. He came out of his office and handed me the files in his hand. You'll follow up on this project from now on. Was this a little bit of trust? I nodded quickly. You can count on me. He jingled the keys in his hand. You don't have to work overtime anymore. I'll drive you home now. At 2 a.m, Alan drove me back to my apartment. I dragged my tired body to the door. Not good, the lock had been picked. The lights inside were blazing, and Luke was sitting right in the middle of the living room like he owned the place. I didn't know whether he had come to soften or to arrest. Luke stubbed out his cigarette and asked, displeased, "Who was that man just now, your new boyfriend?" "My boss." He stood up and walked over to me, his tall figure blocking the light. "Susan, I'm taking you home. I've immigrated. Shanghai isn't my home anymore." He said carelessly, "Where I am is your home. What does immigration matter?" When would Luke finally understand that he was no longer my center, and I no longer revolved around him? Seeing I didn't answer, he said again, "As long as you come back, we'll get married right away. Every major media outlet will rush to report it. In Shanghai, no one will have more face than you." I ran out of patience. "You don't actually think I've just been joking and sulking with you all this time, but still loving you in my heart, do you?" His expression was a little puzzled. "Isn't that the case?" My leaving, in his eyes, was even ridiculous. Like keeping a cat, no matter how it scratches, no matter how wild it is outside, the owner always thinks it will come home. Right now Luke was just grabbing me by the scruff and asking, "So when are you done playing?" I said, "Luke, I don't love you anymore." "See?" He acted like he'd just heard the funniest joke in the world. 5 years together and you say you don't love me, just like that? "Susan, you're almost 30, don't be so childish." "Fine, I'll go back with you, if you can bear to send Linda away." Luke's smile froze on his face. I tilted my head slightly. "See? We were together for 5 years, and didn't you fall in love with someone else?" Luke didn't hurry back to China. He rented the unit next to mine. Sometimes when I went out to the balcony for some air, I could see him leaning against the railing smoking. His eyes were fixed far away, as if he was seriously thinking through some difficult problem. I remembered Luke telling me once, he rarely got confused, because most problems he could solve with money. And these years, the only thing that trapped him was probably his secret love for Linda. Not long after he came, I got a call from Linda. On the other end, she was hysterical. "Susan, you're shameless. You went abroad pretending to be aloof just to lure Luke over, didn't you? I waited 8 years, and he finally agreed to marry me. Who do you think you are? How dare he dump me for you? What a trick, you've outplayed me." Linda's voice started to tremble, sounded like she was crying. I turned my head to look at Luke on the balcony next door. "You heard that, right?" I'd put it on speaker. Linda's voice carried very well. He made up his mind. "I'll send Linda away. From now on she won't set foot in Shanghai." Linda's crying stopped abruptly on the other end. I hung up, too. Luke's tone was rarely anxious. "Susan, I didn't fall in love with her. I can do what I promised you. Come back to me." I snorted lightly. Too late. I did an excellent job on the project Alan gave me. He also stopped making things hard for me. I got off work early today, but I didn't want to go home. I found a bar nearby to kill time. Rock music, hard liquor, a stage, and nobody knew me. In that moment, my body and mind relaxed. Before long, a handsome foreign guy came over to hit on me. He said in clumsy Chinese, "Are you free tonight?" I chuckled without answering. He went on, "My place is nearby." Before he could finish, Alan suddenly appeared and sent him away. He actually had a cold face for once. "You don't have enough work to do? You want a man like that?" I asked Gray my head innocently. "I don't want a man like that. He looks okay, but he's not as good looking as you." He snorted. "Had a couple drinks and now you dare flirt with your boss." Alan yanked me up and paid for my drinks. "Bars overseas are too messy. President Wilson told me I had to make sure you're safe." On the way home, I got a call from Angela. "Sis, it's my birthday next month. Come back, okay?" I rubbed the case of my phone, hesitating. She said generously, "Fine, if you don't want to come, I'll come to you." "No, Miss Wilson, I mean, you have to pay for my ticket. I'm a working woman now." She laughed twice and agreed right away. After I hung up, Alan suddenly said, "I'm going back to Shanghai at the end of the year to report. We can go together." Huh? We weren't that close. "If we go together, we can have finance reimburse the ticket." Alan said it looking straight ahead, calm as anything. The end of the year was still far away. Compared to foreign men's bluntness, Chinese men really were more interesting, saying one thing and feeling another, everything hidden deep. I went home to pack. Luke was very polite this time and knocked on my door. His face was dark. "You said that was your boss. Would a boss specially drive an employee home after hours? And the smell of smoke and alcohol, did you go clubbing together?" I shrugged helplessly. "Yes, that's my boyfriend. Satisfied now? My business has nothing to do with you. Don't butt in again." Luke was shocked, incredulous, and even more, his eyes were filled with sorrow. Maybe now he finally understood I really wasn't going to stand in place and wait for him. People really have to watch what they say sometimes. I kept seeing Alan, and I really did develop feelings for him. He took the initiative to ask me to be with him, and I agreed. Love him today, and today is enough, whether there's a future or not, I already didn't care. People all change, in the end. But I can't lose the right to enjoy love. Mentioning Alan always made Luke angry and disdainful. He can't beat me in looks or money. If Susan won't even want me, she'll dump him sooner or later. But he was wrong. And I was wrong, too. I got the courage to long for marriage a second time. And this time, I won the bet. Alan once told me, Susan, you'll never overturn things with John. I smiled and nodded. I'd already seen through all that. I was planning to learn something real and then resign to jump ship. But Alan said, there's a good company that reached out. They want to poach me. My condition is simple, I'll go, but I have to get you a VP spot. My feelings then were truly mixed. All these years, he was the first person to think about my future. Or rather, I was in his future. I said I wasn't mature enough yet and might not be able to handle such an important position. Alan said, you still have me. Step on my shoulders, however high I stand, that's how high you'll stand. I mailed a wedding invitation back to the Wilson family. After all, my love with Alan started from celebrating Angela's birthday together. Her reply surprised me for a long time. Because she said, half of the Wilson family assets will be your dowry. I didn't know how she'd convince John and Rachel. After all, that was the thing they were most guarded about. One night it suddenly dawned on me, maybe the one who convinced John and Rachel wasn't her. On my wedding day, I was in the dressing room waiting for the makeup artist. Instead, Luke came. Standing in that gorgeous room, in a white suit, he had a bitter smile on his lips. Taking a few minutes of your time isn't too much, is it? I smiled and scratched my head. Luke took a deep breath and slowly said, I heard Alan is kind of a big shot overseas. Since the bride is marrying well, the dowry has to match. Can't be short. I had guessed right. You talked John into it. Just an exchange of interests. The Lee family shares I promised you back then will be counted as dowry too. I'll add 9%. That's too much. I don't dare take it. He looked at me gently. You can take it, Susan. I used to never understand my feelings for Linda. When she confessed to me, I really did waver. But I thought, so what? Isn't love supposed to conquer everything? We loved each other so much. I only hesitated, and you would understand me, and wait obediently where you were. When you said you wanted to break off the engagement, I was angry, unwilling, I even thought you'd betrayed our love. Isn't it ridiculous? I thought it was all because you weren't generous enough. I was wrong. And the price was losing you. I'm sorry, Susan. There was a shimmer in Luke's eyes. Maybe this was the first time he'd ever cried. He gave a bitter little smile. Don't let me ruin your mood. I just wanted to give myself an answer. I had already let go. Luke, we both have to move forward now. He nodded, turned smartly, waved to me, and left. When John walked me down the aisle, I saw Luke in the corner. He was already in tears. Luke had only ever been petty twice in his life. Once, he lost the Linda he'd secretly loved for years. Once, he lost the Susan he loved most. He hadn't lied, during the 5 years he was with Susan, his body and heart belonged to her. It was just that when the girl he'd loved in his youth suddenly confessed, he couldn't tell, for a moment, whether it was love or just an obsession. Leaning on Susan's love, he made her wait and wait. Then one day he suddenly looked back and realized that he and Susan were already on two diverging roads, drifting far apart. Every time he bent down, it looked like condescension, but in truth it was a plea. The sad thing was, 5 years ago Susan could tell he was sulking, but now she took the sulking as truth. He regretted the past, but he couldn't fix it. In the end, Susan welcomed a new life, and he was forever trapped in the old one.